Greetings, I'm Jasmine Bruno, and today's presentation will be about Groovelit as well as digital literacy through music and multimodal writing. So, what is Groovelit necessarily? Groovelit is a form of gamification that helps students with their writing. It's a digital literacy platform for high engagement learning. The platform uses music, videos, and interactive text to help bridge communication gaps, and it's designed for learners of today who navigate multimedia environments daily. So let's go ahead and hear from what Groovelit has to say themselves about their platform.
Welcome to Groovelit. Let's get your class gamified today. Teachers across the country have used Groovelit to boost literacy engagement, harness student creativity, and gamify their classrooms. Groovelit's games have been used as do-nows, competitions between students or classrooms, and as fun enrichment activities for once students finish their work. Let's take a look at how our dynamic scoring system works. Our revolutionary dynamic scoring system provides points for students as they progress in the game. Depending on the game, students may get points for their strong claims and argumentation skills, their figurative language and narrative writing, their character descriptions, and much more. Students also get a new sentence bonus for every new sentence they complete. Our scoring rewards on-task writing with extra points, providing instant feedback for students that need it most. As students progress in their on-task writing, they can work toward the coveted turbo mode, where they can earn double points. As students are writing, teachers can see the points score live and projected on the leaderboard if they choose. Teachers can narrate best practices they see in student writing and reinforce critical skills they see in their classroom. Thank you for all.
Okay, and now we're going to watch a second video.
When you tell students it's time to write, it shouldn't make them groan. It should hopefully go ahead and play a game and see how this works. So here we are inside of the teacher dashboard, and we're going to click launch game. We're going to use one of the pre-created prompts, and they just have a ton of prompts here that you can use. I'm going to pick this one called Fireflies and Sirens. It gives you a little summary of it, and then you can hit play. And it gives you a couple of options to choose from. We're going to do it as a little quick do now activity. You can have it where students are writing individually, but then they're assigned to teams, or you can just have them write individually, or they can all get together in teams to write collaboratively. We're going to go to next. And then this is pretty cool. You can add these skill multipliers where you choose a skill, anything out of these skills that will allow them to multiply their points. And then you can even add an editing and revising bonus round where they can earn extra points for doing editing. And see, what's cool about this is it adds it to, kind of adds an extra gamified layer to it. But really, all you're doing is you're just encouraging them to do the good kind of writing tasks that they should do anyway, but now there's a little bit of extra motivation on it. So that's really cool. So we continue on to next, and it's time to join the game. So we'll just bring over a little window here and hit join. After putting in the code, we'll add a nickname, and then we'll jump right into the game. And then it even tells us ahead of time right now, how do you get points? Sensory details, dialogue, character and setting, descriptions, and then answering the prompt. And then you can do a mastery multiplier with vivid verb choice, which is what we picked. And so over here on the teacher side, once all of your students have joined, you can see who's there, and then you can hit start game. And then once you've started, it's time to write. So here we go. A whole bunch of other stuff. It's keep 3. Groovelit is that.
Okay, so as I'm fast forwarding through this, notice how at the end, students can see if they've earned a particular badge, how they can improve their score or points next time within their writing. But this is all beneficial for the teacher and the student. Okay. I have not tried this platform before, but I noticed here when I put in for the demo recently that they asked me what I was going to teach. And I said I'm going to be teaching about MLA format in regards to a research paper. And it was giving me pretty much different forms of gamification in regards to vocabulary, as well as persuasive paragraphs and so forth, and different prompts that students can address and practice within their research writing journey. So, this connects to new literacies. And when we're talking about new literacies, we're talking about literacies that are beyond actual print text. Okay, so we're moving forward from the traditional text only formats and we're connecting with the modern world via videos, animations, and so forth. Within new literacies, students, they are not just consuming information, they are able to interact with multimedia text to create new meanings. So there are often videos, podcasts, music, animations, and so forth, and you name it. And sometimes students, they're not only watching these mediums, but they're able to create them. As noted from the Brainwaves video anthology, there was some great insights from Donald J. Leo in regards to new literacies. And he mentions pretty much how the nature of constant change, that these new literacies are constantly evolving. So as the internet evolves, so do the new literacies, and it creates an ongoing challenge for research and educators like yourself and I. So, speaking of research, that is a very, very crucial component where students have to take the time out to evaluate and locate different forms of information in order to synthesize what they've actually learned within these new technologies. Oftentimes, teachers use assessments such as the online research and comprehensive assessment, whereas it's a performance-based simulation to evaluate how students solve research problems online, and they move beyond the traditional multiple choice tests and so forth. So there are other platforms other than Groovelit, such as like GimKit or Kahoot or booklet or we will write, another writing platform that often offers these performance-based simulations. And then as far as educational leadership, he really like pretty much implies that leaders must like pretty much evolve with the future when it comes to these new literacies. So for instance, he discusses about close reading, how now we need to ensure that we're including how we're going to be critically analyzing and making inferences about search engine results, especially during this time of mis and disinformation. So, where does this take us to multimodal learning? And that is pretty much that, whereas teachers are incorporating different modes of communication for students to learn from. Some are audio visual, where we have a combination of text, audio, and visuals. Some are diverse styles, where it supports different learning styles through varied media. So sometimes a teacher may play a video and it has closed captions, and they can actually change the language and so forth, or even speed up the video. And then we have engagement, increases comprehension and emotional connection to writing. So sometimes teachers will even take, for example, an escape room and they will put it in a digital format and incorporate different tasks that pertain to a particular unit that they are teaching. And students ultimately become more engaged because they're doing it more so in the form of a digital game versus just in person via worksheets. So this involves writing in digital spaces, whereas we're going to talk about digital literacy, and this is where students are able to build or analyze or even like create actual content based on multimedia prompts. So writing feels real when it's a part of a digital community. So oftentimes, educators like myself will incorporate an extension where maybe other scholars or the public can engage with how they're writing from all over the world. For example, there's an actual platform called Book Creator where you can create a book digitally and share it to an international library. So essentially, this prepares students for the digital communication demands of the future, even the digital demands of today. So this takes us to Skira Hagerman's insights in regards to moving from digital consumption solely to meaningful digital co-creation. So in her article, she pretty much shifts from saying that, hey, the student's role should not just be just to receive and digest all this digital content online, but more so take this information and design it for something in particular, or to try to be a problem solver for some particular issue, or an advocate necessarily. So there's a lot of power within communication. There are cloud-based platforms like Google Docs where students can actually share like an e-paper, and multiple students and even the teacher can write or compose an essay in real time, along with using the comment box option to give constant feedback. So this also allows for like storyboarding, to negotiate complex ideas before production. So when students are participating in brainstorm activities, they can even complete a graphic organizer and share their ideas all together. Multimodal integration. So, successful co creation requires the following: writing. So, students need to be able to like script or storyboard on collaborative platforms such as Google Docs or Padlet or Cami. There should be video recording components, like a technical component where they can video record, or implement different files from online or within themselves, or even digital editing, like on platforms such as Canva. Within this, there are many ethics that we must also ensure that our scholars are aware of: how to manage permissions and privacy for shared work. So ultimately, students develop a network culture where they are not solely alone within drafting or crafting their reading and writing assignments, but more so they are able to participate meaningfully in today's modern world. So, why does this matter for us teachers? One is real world alignment. We know that many careers and jobs expect for a lot of our students to be digitally competent, along with, two, it motivates students. It's engaging. It goes beyond just the typical reading from the textbook or the paper worksheet, or just, okay, go ahead and jot down your information via a quick write in your journal. And it also provides equity and access. So we must consider additionally our multi-language learners and our special education students, along with students who may feel as if they can express themselves beyond writing traditionally. So this helps bridge the gap between classroom literacy and the digital world, so it can ensure that all students can succeed in today's modern environments. So Ripley Crandall, he also continues forward about meaningful co-creation. He talks about the evolution of instruction during that time. So writing is a high stakes cognitive task for individuals who are new, who may not be digital natives, meaning students, or not just students, individuals who are familiar with digital works and functions because they were pretty much, you know, born or during that time. So students must have to learn how to balance handwriting and typing so they can really showcase how much of a critical thinker they are. So let's talk about the evolution of instruction. So first and foremost, we go from penmanship and rules based. So there's a huge focus on, your handwriting looks, so forth, and a heavy focus on grammar. And this was often taught in isolation: handwriting and grammar and reading and writing. It was not necessarily taught simultaneously. And then it moves to a more processed approach where it shifts the focus from the final product to the stages of writing. And we actually have the writing process where we plan, we draft, revise, edit, and publish. And now we are more so in the multimodal writing era, where we're understanding that writing goes beyond penmanship and grammar and just the actual process, but there are different modes and mediums in regards to how we can communicate. We can take some of our ideas within an essay, such as a debate or an argumentative essay, and we can turn that into a podcast transcript, and then ultimately we can have our scholars transform their transcript into an actual podcast, and that could be audio or video. And students would then have to go back and edit and implement maybe certain subtitles or voiceovers within their writing and visuals to pretty much see how they can engage their audience within that podcast. So writing is no longer just linear text on paper. It's active, it's visual, and oftentimes we can hear it. So effective integration ultimately combines explicit strategy instruction. So the teacher is not just saying, hey, I need for you to create a podcast and so forth, but the teacher needs to actually walk the student through within the best way to develop their podcast within their writing and then transform it into multimodal writing. And oftentimes, teachers will incorporate, like myself, video tutorials to assist with the process so students can have that accommodation in case they are not a digital native. And then we have grammar implementation, whereas for writing to improve, grammar and mechanics should be taught in context for meaningful tasks, not just in isolation like within the past. So, item like platforms like Groovelit, they often help with writing and focusing on particular objectives, but then they also have that layer of grammar underneath of it. So students are not just focusing on the grammar, but they're being evaluated within that as well and reminded to consider the process. All right. So as we reflect and close out, ultimately, we as educators need to embrace digital tools because literacy is ever evolving. And when that happens, our teaching must evolve within it. So we need to ensure that we're keeping up with our research, we're listening to our students' experiences, we're surveying our students, we are paying attention to our demographics, and literally figuring out ways how to integrate these digital and new literacies within our lesson planning with intent and consideration. So we ultimately definitely want to ensure that we are preparing our students for a multimodal future. And that means integrating platforms such as Groovelit today. So thank you so much for your time. These are my references, and have a beautiful day or evening.